Welcome to Survivor 45. What a rough beginning for Survivor 45. This episode was it was just a very rough ending for a pretty normal-ish episode, really, for the start of the season. I think it was okay. There's actually some really standout players for the start of the season, but we're going to have to really talk about that ending of the first episode here of the 45th season of Survivor. So let's kick it off. We're jumping in 3 tribes once again. This time we usually have the 3 tribes now. So we're going to have the tribes of Reba, Bilo, and Lulu. I'm going to have to get used to the names. Might take a little bit to learn them. I've already kind of memorized them, especially Lulu, especially after this episode, because this episode very much is heavily focused on the tribe of Lulu. And Lulu is the yellow tribe, and they are a complete disaster. They are a disaster for this season. Everything else was actually probably fine, but the tribe of Lulu was a wreck. So let's get into it. So Survivor 45, here we go. We got our cast. Jump right into the first challenge on the boat this time. So they're actually on the boat, like they kind of do a lot lately. When they start out the seasons, they're on the boat and they start out their first challenge. It's basically a reward challenge to get some supplies and whatnot for your team, your tribe. And Reba, the red team, ends up winning the first challenge. Not immunity just yet, but we do get them getting their supplies and stuff. And they win that first challenge. And then at the end of the challenge, they do split off into 3, right away. They always do this now where they split people off to go do this new different twist that they always have. So they split from 2 people from each team and they split them off to go off and do this different twist. And that'll come into factor of who gets what for each tribe and which tribe will get their materials and which will not. And this is something that's has been similarly done with Survivor, just the last few seasons with the sweat and savvy thing, where you have your tribe, they go to their camp and they ultimately choose, do they want to either do the little puzzle or the brain teaser type of challenge where they need to figure out a certain puzzle or a challenge mentally in a certain amount of time with the timer, or they need to do the sweat challenge where they need to do the very physical challenge by bringing something like back and forth and ultimately getting it done before the timer runs out so they get their supplies for their tribe. They did it a little differently this time where they sent the 2 people from each tribe at the end of the first challenge to go and do the sweat and savvy challenge instead of the whole tribe choosing who's going to do the sweat and savvy challenge like they normally have. This time it's just they're going to send 2 out and that's what they're going to go do. It's going to be those 2 people that they sent out. They're going to go do that challenge on a separate whole area together as one big thing. So like all the challengers are all together in one area instead of it being at their tribe. So it's a little different, I believe, this time. And ultimately, none of them end up winning the sweat and savvy. Usually they get it. Usually when they have it at the actual tribe, they are there to pick out who would be best for the puzzles or the physical challenge, and they're able to choose who would be the best to do that. And usually they end up having it, so they end up getting the supplies that they need because they chose the right people. But this time around, they didn't know what they were sending them off to do, so they sent them off, and it probably just wasn't the right choices for the Sweat and Savvy challenge, and ultimately none of them got it. So none of the people that went off to do that separate challenge won their supplies for their tribe, so that is a little bit disappointing for them when they go back to their tribe. Immediately it starts off like, okay, that's kind of a disappointment in your game. So as we've been introduced to the whole new cast of Survivor 45, there is such an immediate... Let's just jump back again, I guess. We're kind of jumping all over right now. When we're jumping into the whole new cast, there's an immediate realization of who is going to be excruciatingly annoying in this season. And I'm going to have to point out Emily in this season. So, Emily, let's just zoom in right here. Emily right here, she is on the Lulu tribe, and I mentioned the Lulu tribe is the disaster of this episode for sure. Emily is incredibly annoying. I don't know, it could be maybe fun entertainment going into the later of the season, but she is incredibly frustrating. There's this whole thing of her and Bruce, who Bruce is returning from Survivor 44, who got knocked out with a head injury early in season 44. So he's back. They brought him back because he hardly got a chance last season, so he is back as well. And Bruce is actually someone I did like through this episode. I actually liked him along with another player as well. So there's a few standout players, I think, in the episode, but there's so much bad that we're going to really have to get into that. But Emily is certainly one of those really annoying players that I think is just going to be really frustrating to watch going into season 45. And really the rest of the annoyance of the episode is within the Lulu tribe. So I mentioned the Lulu tribe. And immediately we obviously, with Survivor, we jump to the different camps, the different tribes, and we get to see them interact for the first time and get to know each other and build their camp up, build their shelters. And immediately you got Brandon and you got Hannah, the two right here on the far right in the middle. You got Brandon and you got Hannah, who are a shit show of players for the show. They are a disaster, an absolute disaster. During the first challenge, Brandon could hardly do a damn thing. Like they're like trying to climb up a ladder from being in the water. They're trying to climb up a ladder and get back into the boat to basically get back and then progress the challenge and win for your tribe. And Brandon is like the one who couldn't even climb up the ladder in the first challenge of the entire game. And then in the second challenge, the immunity challenge, again, he's like a disaster and he's just kind of flopping around. It's like they pulled this guy off his couch and he didn't prep for Survivor whatsoever. And it's like he didn't even know what show he was going on. So he is like a disaster in this show. And he's immediately complaining about how his stomach's hurting him. And he's got pain and he can't handle it. And he's just suffering so much. And it's on like day 1. And I thought he was he was probably the worst one up until this Hannah stuff later in the episode. So Hannah is also basically in the same boat as Brandon, where she's like complaining on day 1 of how terrible her experience is. It's like, oh my God, I can't handle this. This is not what I expected. This is not what I wanted for Survivor. I want to be home. I would rather just be watching it on my couch and viewing the season that I'm literally on. And I got this very great opportunity to be on Survivor, but I'd rather just be home because I can't handle it on day 1. I'm not going to ever say I would be able to just do Survivor with ease because I would never want to go on Survivor. I don't think I'd be good at it. But when you're signing up for Survivor and you're sending in an audition and you want to get that chance to get on Survivor, you know what you're trying to sign up for. You know what you're trying to do. You know what kind of game, you should know what kind of game you're trying to get into when you get on Survivor. And immediately you got this quitter mentality from Hannah. And at least Brandon, even though he's flopping around all over the place, at least he doesn't have the quitter mentality, at least yet. So before the first actual immunity challenge, there's a few things that happened right away. Someone has already found the hidden immunity idol. Austin on the Reba tribe, he did find the hidden immunity, not really the idol, but he did find a clue to find the hidden immunity idol. And because obviously Survivor these days, we don't really do it easily. So he opens it up and it did warn him that like once you open this up, it is yours and you are stuck with it. So he opens it up and he no longer has a vote at the next tribal council until he is able to get this immunity idol, but he does have a clue on where and how to get it. So it gives him this like little like puzzle to solve these random weird little symbols that are on the tribe flag. And then there's also like some random little symbols that are also on his clue. So now he has to figure out how to solve this little riddle with the tribe flag and his clue, and he has to do that before he gets to his first tribal council, because he will not have a vote if he doesn't have his idol. So that's something they've done before with, they won't have their vote until they get the idol, but it's a little different this time. They're doing like a different little clue, which is, I guess, good. It's not like the same repetitive like challenge, like the safe phrases and stuff like that. It's a little different, so I guess that's nice. On the Bello tribe, the blue tribe, they end up having, there's a little bit of annoyance on that tribe too. They tried to do this. There's like 3 girls on the team, and I don't know all the names yet. Don't forgive me on this. I don't have it written down yet either. I will learn the names eventually. We just started. But there's 3 women on the team that immediately are like, oh my God, we all have like the same birthdays in the same month. Oh my God, we're relating. We're cheering together. We're having so much fun. And then they're like, oh, we should do an all girls alliance because That always works really well in Survivor. An all guys alliance or all girls alliance, that always works so good. And then they're immediately like strategizing things of how to get, these different male players out, because that always goes real well in Survivor. It never plays out well. So that probably won't last long, but it's just kind of like funny to watch. It's like, okay, good luck with that. So going into the actual immunity challenge, it's like a really messy one again. They had him run around in the mud and slide around in the mud, throw a few balls into a basket. So ultimately, Bello and Reba are the immunity challenge winners, and they are safe from tribal tonight. That is the red and the blue tribe. Reba is the red tribe, Bello is the blue tribe. So Lulu, the disaster tribe, is the one going to tribal council. And immediately when I saw them, like, yeah, it's pretty fitting. It's pretty fitting that they're the ones that are going to be going to tribal tonight. So they are the ones going to tribal council tonight. So we don't really get to touch on the other tribes the rest of the episode. So we will get to learn a little bit more of them going into the next episodes, obviously, because we just don't really know much about them yet. First episode, of course. So the Lulu tribe. I've already mentioned that Hannah has got this quitter mentality, and she's like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't handle Survivor already, even though it's day 1 or day 2. It's like, this is so terrible. Get me out of here. And then you got Brandon, who is a complete disaster so far, but at least he doesn't have the quitter mentality as of yet, so he still wants to be in the game. So ultimately, it really just comes down to him or her being the most probably pathetic ones. And then you got Emily also on this tribe, who is like incredibly annoying and incredibly frustrating to just sit and listen to talk right now. She doesn't vibe well with her tribe, and she tries to play it off and say that like, oh, well, I'm just not good with interacting with these types of weird people. You're the weird one. You are the weird one. So before they even go to tribal council, Hannah is like strangely happy because they lost their challenge. It's weird because, like, you should be upset, you just started the game and you just lost your first challenge and now you're going to tribal. But Hannah is actually kind of happy. She's almost like, oh my God, maybe I could just go home and I can just watch Survivor from my couch. And it's immediately, you can tell it's like, oh no, we haven't had a quitter in a while for Survivor. We've had some pretty bad players and stuff like that, but we haven't had a quitter for quite a little bit now. We've had them in the past. I remember them a little bit, but we haven't had a Survivor quitter for a while. But this is very much quitter mentality, and she, again, is the only one really expressing the quitter mentality. Brandon, even though Brandon is like a disaster so far, and if he doesn't get his shit together in some weird way, I don't know how he can. I think he's going to be really next to really go because he's a disaster for the Lulu tribe. He can't perform well in challenges, at least as of yet. And I think Emily is also kind of a wreck for the tribe. So the whole tribe is just a wreck. So going into tribal council, it starts off okay. And then we reach Hannah. Everything seems kind of normal. And then she starts to get into her whole quitter mentality again. Like, oh my God, I don't even want to be here. I don't want to be here. I'd just rather be home. I would almost just want to, I'm not too upset to be here. I wouldn't be too upset if everyone voted my name. And it brings it to this point where, like, okay, so you're literally telling your whole tribe that you want to go. So Jeff, when he realizes and reaches that point of like, he realizes that she's literally trying to quit and she's telling her whole tribe at tribal council that I want to go and you should just maybe vote for me and I don't really want to be here. I want to be on my couch at home and watch Survivor instead. You can actually tell with Jeff, he's just kind of like dumbfounded and he's just like, he didn't say anything. He's not going to like scream at her or anything, but I think he should have. He's just like, what the hell? You could just see the what the hell expression on his face. And I mean, Jeff has had some weird stuff in the past. He's said weird stuff, done weird stuff. But man, I got to really agree with Jeff here. It just, I felt Jeff in that moment. It's like, dude, what are you quitting this game for? What are you quitting my game for? Like, what the hell? We brought you on here for this incredible opportunity to win $1 million on Survivor on TV, and this reality show, TV show. And she's had this great opportunity. There's got to be like thousands and thousands of people who auditioned for this show, and she was chosen this season. And she's deciding, I'm just going to walk the hell out. I don't want to be here. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like being here. I'm going to quit. Day one. I think even past quitters, it's been a little bit at least before they quit, but this is day one. This is the first episode of the season. She's done. She didn't even give it a chance. You know what you signed up for. You should be expecting what this is going to be. So they don't even vote. They all just sit there and say, "Oh well, I guess I'll just vote for Hannah. I guess I'll just vote for Hannah because you want to go." So it ends up just being this really pathetic. Everyone just sits around, just says, "All right, I guess I'll vote you." And Jeff's like, "Okay, what are you voting? I'll vote Hannah too." And it all just comes down to Hannah being all giddy and happy that she's quitting the game and that they all voted her out in some pathetic way. And that's how the episode ends. So I've seen the reaction on social media, and I think, the Survivor base, especially on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, there's always this crazy divide, especially socially lately, with certain Survivor players and Survivor fans. There's been a lot of weird social messaging in Survivor, and there's always been this weird division as of late, the past several seasons. This is a very uniting moment, I can tell. I can very much tell that seeing a quitter on Survivor is a very uniting moment for anyone who may have very differing opinions within Survivor and how the game should be operated and how it should go. I think there's one unifying factor in Survivor that I'm seeing right now, and it's that quitting and seeing a quitter in Survivor, especially in the first episode. Nobody likes it. Everyone is outraged by it, and it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. So it just ruined the episode. It really ruined the episode. And as I said, the episode was fine, really, for, I would say, the other tribes. The other tribes were kind of fine. I had there's some players in there I did like. Again, I mentioned I liked Bruce. I did like Bruce a little bit. We didn't get to see really any of him last season, so it's cool to see him back. And another player that I did like was Sifu. Sifu's on the Reba tribe, and I liked him. He was kind of a quirky, weird dude. And he's just he's a fascinating character. He's like one of those really fun characters, like a Tony type of character in a way. I don't know how well he'll do. I mean, he's kind of trying to hide around in this episode, and he wasn't that good at it. So, I mean, we'll see. But, I mean, I will say, Sifu is certainly, probably my favorite player so far. Not in terms of, being good in the game. We haven't really seen much of the game so far, but he's fun. He's fun to watch, and I hope he kind of makes it a little bit, because I think it'll make the season a little fun. So I do like him. But it ruined the whole episode with the Lulu. The Lulu tribe just soured this whole episode, and it was a very rough start for Survivor 45, and it just left me irritated. It really did. It's like, why are you signing up to go on Survivor when you clearly do not want to do it? And I gotta say the same for Brandon, too. He may not have the quitter mentality as of yet, but God, it doesn't look like this dude was ready to go on Survivor whatsoever, and it's just the casting for this show. I really question it sometimes. I really question some of the choices that they make. It's weird, and it doesn't even make for good TV. It's just annoying. It's not dramatic or oh my God, I'm gonna quit, I can't stand it. No, it's just annoying. It irritates everybody. We don't want to watch it. We'd rather watch the drama and the intensity and the gameplay. That's what we'd rather watch. We don't want to watch everyone just come in for a day or two and quit. You just embarrassed yourself on national television. Good job, Hannah. Good job, Brandon, as well. But, so rough start for Survivor 45. I'm sure it'll pick up. There's some good characters, good players so far in the season, and I think it could still be pretty good. It was just a rough start, and I hope it can pick up from there. But that's episode 1. That's week 1 of Survivor 45. Hannah is not voted out. She selfishly quit, and we'll move on to next week.